You can't prove to me that that's a good idea. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so today we had the hearing in the Idaho 4 case where they were arguing the death penalty. Now, we ended up not seeing Bill Thompson the entire time. Instead, there was two different people from like the high ups. Instead of Bill Thompson being there, these two are the ones who fought the argument. And I don't remember getting any information about this little situation switching up. So it was a little interesting to see that because Jennings never spoke. She sat there the whole time, never said a word. Bill Thompson was supposed to have been there on Zoom, but we never saw him. They never showed the Zoom screen. Now, yesterday there was election results that came out and it looks like nobody ran against Bill Thompson. The results that I saw showed that he was completely unopposed. So for him to just not show up at all was interesting. But as the court went on and I started understanding what this whole argument's actually for, it became very clear that the only reason why this whole situation with who was actually there representing the prosecuting side today was changed was because this was the death penalty argument. And it wasn't a death penalty argument based for the case. It is, but it wasn't at the same time. And the judge made it very clear a couple hours later when he said, but then they'd all have to be changed. And this is sort of something that I felt was the sentiment when it came to the grand jury instruction argument, that if there was something wrong with that one, then they would have to literally redo all of the thousands of grand juries for the thousands of cases that they've held them that were conducted over that exact same set of rules. And that's pretty much the sentiment that came out here. And it became really clear that I am not the only person who felt like this whole situation was being done in reverse. Right off the bat, we found out that Barbara Wolf was indeed not going to be able to testify. Now, they wanted her to come in and testify, and the state was like, no, we don't. We object for her to come in. I thought it was a little odd that she was coming in to talk about the death penalty because of all of her credentials. I felt like they probably could have grabbed like almost anybody to have that argument because you're going to cite all of the same stuff anyway. I feel like Barbara Wolf is probably more of a physical evidence type person. Either way, she wasn't allowed to testify. We don't know if she actually showed up on Zoom or not because, like I mentioned, they never showed the screen, but he didn't allow her to talk. Now, I'm not too positive if they're going to allow the other witness to end up testifying. It sounds like he's going to let Dr. Cover actually come in and talk. I'm not positive. I'm going to have to go back in and recheck or somebody can validate that down at the bottom. But for sure, he was just not allowing her to testify. And he's basically just saying that anything that she had to say is irrelevant. But he was sort of saying the same thing about the Kohberger one because a lot of the stuff that was apparently presented when it came to the reasoning for why they wanted her to testify, all of that was like 5 years old or older, all of the data that was given for their reasoning. So I don't know. Now, it took a few hours of the hearing going on before I really sort of clicked into the reasoning why it was happening. And it wasn't just me, and it wasn't just people in my chat on my channel. The guy even said some sort of statement about how this argument was like decades early or some really exaggerated thing like that. And I was like, oh, okay, so it is sort of like backwards. This argument is backwards. Because to me, them arguing the death penalty right now before we know the case fact and even know if Brian Kohberger is actually innocent or guilty seems odd. But this is the gist of it. All of those document drops and all of those motions for this. In order for this to remain a DP case and go to trial the way that it's set to, a certain type of juror has to be selected. In other cases that are not death penalty, the juror would not be asked how they feel about the death penalty, if they would be able to choose death if it was needed in the situation. For regular jurors, you don't get that. So whenever it's a death penalty case like this, the juror will be asked these questions, making it very clear that the death penalty is on the table for the situation. Therefore, the death penalty aura remains in their brains while they're taking in all of the evidence. So when that became apparent, I then completely understood the reasoning for why they were fighting for this in what I originally thought was an untimely time. And I'm not the only one. Again, it seems hella backwards, but whenever you hear the defense's reasoning like that, it makes perfect sense, because there's no way that the majority of people that would be brought in and know for a fact that this is death penalty would not be able to differentiate the difference between it being based on the severity of the case and the crime and the victims themselves and the person being accused of doing these things. Because regardless, and I've said this 1,000 times and I will say it 1,000 times more, regardless of how I feel, this is a death penalty case. Whoever did this, and this is just based off the little bits we've been allowed to know, whoever was capable of this, death. But I don't believe they've got the right guy. I don't. So they've got to prove that. You cannot prove that the death penalty should literally be in the forefront of these people's brains. You can't prove to me that that's a good idea. Whenever they need to be as unbiased as humanly possible, you cannot expect them to go into this knowing the possibility that they're going to end up having to either innocent, you can go free, or guilty, and now I have to kill this guy. Okay, that's what these people are going to be thinking in their heads. And that's going to be in the forefront of their thoughts for all of the evidence and lack thereof. So I get it. I completely get it, even though it seems backwards. I want to be listening to case fact. I want to know if they've got the right guy, if everything is being wasted, if the house was torn down actually prematurely, or if it's really not needed anymore. I want answers. And these are the same answers everybody else wants and the family needs. One thing that really was interesting today was the fact that they're thinking about reinstating his right to a speedy trial. I honestly didn't even know this was a thing. I thought that once you waived your right for speedy trial, then it just is what it is. But they were talking about possibly reinstating it, resetting the clock, and getting to trial faster. So if we could get to trial faster, because it goes back to some sort of timeline. I don't know what the timeline would be, where it would go from, what the new date could possibly be if they wanted to do that. But the original trial date was supposed to have been October of 2023. It was supposed to have been 13 months ago. But 13 months ago, they lied. And Ann Taylor's argument was right. He felt like he had no choice but to waive his right to a speedy trial, because where was the evidence? Where was everything that they were supposed to be sharing with the defense in discovery to prove their case? The defense cannot go to trial and fight for their client if they haven't gotten what they needed from the state. And look how long it took to get everything. Just a few days ago, Anne filed her 18th supplemental request for discovery, and it happened to be a double request, sort of, because there's Exhibit O listed in this one, and we had Exhibit O also listed for the 16th supplemental request. So there's that. What I'm wondering is if Ann Taylor is convinced at this point that they've got the majority of what's in the discovery for the state, and that's why she's talking about now resetting the clock. I just didn't know that was a thing, y'all. I really had no clue that you could reinstate your right to a speedy trial after you waived it. So if that happens, that's going to be interesting to watch, because I legitimately had no idea. Seeing that play out, that'll be interesting. Now, Judge Hippler definitely is a different vibe than Judge Judge. Judge Judge got on my nerves a lot because it almost seemed like he just didn't really have a backbone, like literally at all. Some people thought he gave the state more whatever. Some people thought he did it with the defense. I saw him doing it whenever it pleased him, but I saw him really not giving two shits about this case unless it had something to do with him. Like, he was kind of just like nonchalant and looking bored all the time until Ann Taylor was questioning him about why he made the decision he made for the survey. I don't know, but this judge, I mean, he sort of makes both sides work for it. Like, asking questions back, showing that he's paid attention, showing that he's looked over everything that was given to him. Apparently, he gets given all of this stuff ahead of time, and I'm sure that Judge did too, but Judge would go into these hearings like he was hearing all these words for the very first time, and he just didn't know what was going on and looking all confused. Judge Hippler pretty much knew exactly what was going on, retained all the information he needed to blast off questions back to them. He was making both sides work for it. Both sides work for it. Now, again, while I say there's no way in shit that this case in itself, the murders of these 4 kids, all right, that in itself is a death penalty eligible case. But they've got to prove that they've got the right guy. And for them to be arguing this now, like I said, was odd to me, but now I understand their reasoning. I still find it strange, but the trial is where the facts come in, right? And the trial can only be fair and unbiased if the jury doesn't go into this thinking instantly death penalty. I understand that. I understand it completely. I get it now. I get it. We're going to have documents in, the judge's orders for what happened today, hopefully posting soon. I don't know if it'll be this weekend. It may be next week. I will see what they end up doing. I don't know, but we didn't go over time, so nothing is going to end up happening tomorrow. And he was pretty strict about staying with that schedule. He even made comments a couple of times about the time. So he's not playing about any of that. Brian is also going to be able to wear his suit, his street clothes for all of the pretrial hearings. They apparently met this morning in the closed session prior to everything going public, and Judge Hippler came out and said that he spoke with security and there's no problem with it. The only people that had problems with it were the Consalvises, and mainly Christy. I think Steve only said something about it because his wife was saying something about it. But I want to know what you guys think about what happened today. Were you in chat? Let me know if you were one of my viewers in chat watching along with me. Did you watch it anywhere today? Have you watched it at all? Are you planning on watching it? Or is this video the first time that you even knew we had a hearing in the Idaho 4 case? Let me know, and let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Oh, and I went to get tacos. Well, not tacos, fajitas, because we went to Chili's so that there was something for everybody. But I told y'all in the chat, all that taco talk, I wasn't playing. But I want to know what you guys think about today's hearing down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you were not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that your notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.